Pyrrho, in terms of viewing reality as like the ultimate kind of reductionist as a series of waves, rather than like atoms, like billiard balls, is that more important in your eyes? Does that give you a different flavor and experience when you
mean something
walk
like string theory?
when you walk through the door and you can, you know, at one moment see the door, but you also see that it's not a door. It's all these. It's like a symphony of waves interacting, flowing, and ebbing through each other. Not just the door, but the people you come into contact with. Is it important to view reality like that, as well as the normal reality? You see these other separate people. I mean, how do you view reality walking day to day? How much of you goes that reductionist? To really, how much of you sees it as objects? How much of you sees it as a symphony? I mean, to navigate through your life, what's it like?
In terms of navigating through, okay, no. First of all, in terms of how important it is of crucial importance. It's the most important thing, I think, philosophically, because it has to do with when I bring up the air of being. You know, we assume things are these little BBs, and they're all more like waves, or like in philosophy education, they're teaching you about personal identity, and it's the unchanging something. They're always looking for that, and you know. At that time and always I thought, well, we should be looking for the concept of identity in a wave, because we feel the wave has identity. We watch it come to the shore and we ride it, you know, and yet it's a wave. So let's get identity out of that thing. And so the fact that everything is energy and wave-like, and even the most particle-like things, these electrons and the protons are wave-like. We have to picture the world that way, and it's good to do that. Now, as far as living everyday life, we live by approximations. And, you know, I think of Newton's laws of physics. If I'm thinking of physics, I don't bother with, well, what's the relativistic part that I know is not going to be big enough for my scale to worry about, you know? So if there's some adjustment to the torque I need on my lug nut, you know, the relativistic adjustment, I'm probably not fine-tuned enough to get that. But we use objects. It's very important that we can simulate and create this idea of the objective world and discriminate the individual, you know, and that we can individuate.
Yeah.
But it's just because we're computers trying to process the world. It's like if I was writing a program from scratch to do what I have to do to live my life, I would do all kinds of arbitrary, creating a structure for this and an object here and a representation for that, just whatever I needed. And when I made a mistake, you just add another, and that's what we're doing.
Yep, I see. So I guess we should probably wrap it up, but I just had one more question. I'm curious if you heard of Alva Noah. He's a philosophy professor at Berkeley. And
well, just through you, I read that article. I wasn't familiar with him, but yeah.
Right. I mean, his idea is that the brain may be something like a computer, but he doesn't think that consciousness or cognition takes place entirely inside the skull. He thinks that, you know, it's just in general, organisms and their environments are always co-evolving and co-adapting to one another. And in the case of humans, part of what allows us to see the world is the fact that it's really there. And it's not as though our experience of sight is somehow in the brain somewhere. It's just an emergent phenomenon of the larger, you know, brain in body in world dynamic system. So it's a more holistic view of or a methodology, I guess, or it leads to a methodology that tries to understand consciousness as part of, in a sense, a field phenomenon, rather than something you can locate in a particular group of neurons or in the brain at all. So does that sort of resonate with you at all, or are you still sort of connected to the idea that mind equals brain?
I do think mind equals brain, except for that part of consciousness is definitely in the environment. It's driving it. I mean, so the mind, for example, is the conscious thing. All the wheels turning in the mind, including maybe physics we don't quite understand, so don't limit that just to like classical physics or computation. Mm-hmm. But it's all these wheels moving in your mind. But the perceptions that you get is the water that has to wash through there to make them spin. And if it was a different weather pattern, the flow won't be the same, it won't spin the wheels right. So you are tuned in to these perceptions and you need them to drive. And so a lot of what you might think of the effective intentionality of consciousness and willing and everything is coming to us, and that's the sense in which we are connected holistically with the universe. But you see, that's still a mechanical definition that makes our brains computing devices. So the spiritual version of me saying that we're just a fold in the environment ourselves. We're not separate. We're just a particular fold that kinked up and looks like, pond scum that came together in one place and it's shaped like us.
Yeah.
And so that in that sense, we're just an expression of the environment. But we are an expression of the environment. We can individuate ourselves. And the consciousness that we have in our brain, I think, is more on the computational side, where it's a machine trying to make sense. Now I'm in this little bit of matter, and it's working on its own as a true individual in that sense. You know what I mean? Not like some of the will is outside. And though I do grant that there is some, almost I don't know. There's some essence of the will in the environment, because it is pushing, that's where we're getting our energy, and it's turning our wheel. So it is ultimately where the consciousness energy resides. Right. But still, it's how it's spent in the brain, I think, is this individual thing where I have a pretty mechanistic view. Like it could be a robot. It works fine for me that you had a computer in there connected to cameras, and it's just that the robot needs some like magical circuitry that hasn't been invented, a quantum computer in it.
Okay.
So
Alvin Noah would say the brain is necessary but not sufficient for consciousness. Would you say the brain is necessary and sufficient?
No, I'm agreeing on that. It is not sufficient.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm agreeing on that, and that a lot of this energy comes from its embedding. And even when we talk about putting them in computers and stuff, I think you can see brains go insane pretty easily. I'm not sure you could put something 24/7 in a computer simulation and it wouldn't go insane somehow.
Yeah.
I don't. Yeah.
Yes.
Because how would you simulate all of this pattern of flow to energize that brain? I think it would atrophy and it just wouldn't work. It's meant to be embedded in this environment. It's part of the environment in that sense, for sure.
Right. I mean, the technical feat of actually providing a brain in a vat with all the bodily inputs and environmental inputs would basically amount to giving it a new body and a new world, right?
If you really could do it to that level, and assuming you're going to make approximations, you got to think the brain would suffer that.
Right. So unless you could just replicate the situation the brain is already in a living organism, it's not going to work.
Yeah.
And that's the part I think is irreducible, like not consciousness, but I don't think we can ever reproduce reality. I think there is some essential. And this is the sense in which I said, hey, we could always find the laws of physics, but I also believe there'll always be a law of physics we haven't found out yet.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
Anything else, or should we wrap it up?
No, I think we're just on time to wrap it up.
Cool.
All right, thanks.
Yeah, thanks, Pyrrho. That was a lot of fun.
Good job.
All right, cheers. Aloha.
Take it easy.
Aloha.